All right. Hello, hello. Looks like we're live right now. We'll give it a couple of seconds. You know how these things go. Couple of seconds here. Go ahead and do our introductions right now. As we're gearing up to start this power hour, please leave in the comments where you're from. Tell us where you're from, where you're tuning in from, your tribal affiliations are, all those lovely things. Without further ado, Keshe, Tomás Karmelo Amaya Leshana, Hom Tzita Carmen Amaya Leshana, Hom Dachu Tomás Amaya Senior Leshana. My name is Tomás Karmelo Amaya, and I am Yoeme and Ashwi on my mom's side and Raramuri on my dad's side. Currently here in Phoenix, Arizona, which is the ancestral homelands of our Atham relatives, our Yavapai relatives, Peeposh. We have some Yaqui relatives out here as well. And if I didn't say Yavapai, Yavapai. And this is my beautiful partner, my wife, Siera Begaye. I am very blessed to be your partner. And together we have a little baby, Hasea. And go ahead, Siera.
Okay. Yat Siera Begaye Amaya Yanashya Tapahan Ishle Sinjakine Bashashin Belaganische Sitna Janishnele Sehotso de Nasha Shema A Lynette Adams Wilya Shaja A Brandon Begaye Wilya. It's my husband Tomás. And we have our little Hasea Amaya, and she is gonna be 2 years old in April. Super excited to be on here with you all this afternoon. I know that we're now on the 95th week.
95th, which means there's a lot more. There used to be one daily. There's a lot more power hours, but it started going once a week.
Right. So we're on our 95th week of
yes,
doing power hours. And so I'm super excited to be in this space and share this space with you all today and talk about our lives, what we choose to do, and how we choose to express ourselves. So very excited to be here.
Yes, we need to acknowledge in a very big, beautiful way, just all the love that comes with being part of the NWI family, for this space, for all the hours and effort that go into creating these power hours. So shout out to the whole team for putting all that good energy out into Native country and beyond. So the Native Wellness Institute, you will find, has a very special place in our heart, in our own healing journey. And as you know from the flyer, we're talking about healing through visual medicine. There's different types of medicine, and this is one of the ways in which Siera and I express ourselves. And NWI has been there from some of the early stages of some of our projects together. And we're just so grateful to the NWI family. We'd like to jump right in. We're going to show a video which is called Indigenous Peoples Day is Every Day. It's 1 minute, and it's going to show an example of some of the instances and memories and collaborations that bring healing to our lives through film. So we'll go ahead and play that. Hopefully this plays smoothly. Sometimes it's not as smooth, but Indigenous Peoples Day is Every Day is the title, and I'm going to go ahead and play it now.
Now they can no longer ignore.
I might have muted it there for a second. We could play it again at the end as well. But shout out to Gunnar Jules, who was a Sichangu Lakota brother who did the music um, for some of our collaborations with NWI, and we're very blessed to use it here. So shout out to him. Um, so a little bit about our backgrounds. I'll go ahead and start with my background of um, expressing through all types of ways that I could, whether it was writing or drawing or using the wind up disposable cameras for my family. For me, the visual medicine aspect started with um, honoring my family and honoring the people around me that I love, honoring the things around us. Oh, yo, hold up, hold up. What's going on here?
It's a black screen.
Oh, it should have gone back. Hold on. I put stop share. This is a glitch in the matrix. It happens from time to time. Let's go back to it. It goes like this. Give me 1 second. Hello, everybody. You can still hear my voice? Can you hear my voice? I put stop share, but it's stuck on sharing that screen. So let's try to fix this troubleshooting here. How come it's still sharing it? Ah, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, can you see us now? What we wanted you to do is stare at that blank screen and envision what we were talking about. This is what comes with lives and just part of it, technical difficulties, right? So going back to the how it all started, honoring the people in my family, the people that I love, the space where I grew up, my home, all of that turned into, you can say documenting it, creating images with it, sometimes writing. And what I found a lot of times too was some of the photos from my dad and my mom, albums that we had back in the day that we're blessed to have, right? There's a certain level of privilege to have some of these items. It just brought me a lot of peace. It brought me a lot of joy to know that we had those to look at. And through that long journey, fast forward, I've been a creative director, a film director, a writer, and visual artist. And that was something that was really important to me as an Indigenous person, as well as having culture and our ancestral teachings at the very center of my life and my family's life and the future family that I could start. So a whole other power hour could be about how Siera and I met and our love story, and we'll do that one day with all the nitty gritty. But when we started dating and started talking and started creating projects and visuals, that was something that we aligned with in a major way, and it was beautiful. It fulfilled us. And then as we get to that part, and Siera could talk about it, is how Native Wellness, the Native Wellness Institute really encouraged us and sent us blessings and created opportunities. And it's been very beautiful, beautiful experience. Siera and I, early on in our relationship, started Canyon. And if you want to tell us a little bit about Canyon.
Yeah. So Tomás and I, both of our tribes, we have stories of emerging from canyons, and they're very significant within our different stories and storytelling. And when we first started creating together, a lot of the times it was in canyons and in these places where, we felt really close to Mother Earth and the elements. And from there, this idea stemmed of us continuing to work together and continuing to create these images and, whatever emotions that they provoked, really helped us into getting to know each other, and to also getting to create with one another. And so a lot of our creative energy that we had together was in these desert landscapes. And so it really goes back to us appreciating, where we come from and us living here in Arizona. And I feel like canyons will continue to be a big part of our lives. And so back in, I believe it was 2018, we started our own production company, and we named it Canyon Productions. And since then, we've been able to collaborate with multiple nonprofit organizations, including the Native Wellness Institute. And we've also been able to create visuals for our Native emerging designers and artists as well. And so keeping it really inclusive, but also focusing on natives, telling Native stories, highlighting and having not only our Indigenous people in front of the screen talking about positive abundance, but also having Natives in the back working with the film, working with hair and makeup. And so to create, going into working together, we really wanted to create a safe space and a safe place. I've have my own background in modeling, and then Tomás has had his background with his own journey in photography. That was, yeah. I lost my train of thought.
No, you're good. That's
But I guess it's a good to throw it back at.
Yeah, no,
throw it back at you.
That's perfect. Siera has done a lot of producing as well.
Oh yeah.
And the whole what we want to say here real quick is NWI. We love how it's expressed very simply. We are all worthy of good things. Our mentors tell us from MWI, and we can all heal, and we all have the power to heal ourselves. That is huge. And with that, we want to say that through visual medicine, this is another way to do it. And we're expressing some of our journey, but we're going to go ahead and talk about a few ways in which you today, and maybe there's already things that you've been doing. We want to encourage those things in which we can heal through visual medicine. And we want to be very clear that it doesn't have to rely on a certain tool, like a specific camera or a specific space, other than creating a sacred space. And so we'll talk about a few of those things right now, but thank you, Love, because when we talk about creating an image or creating anything, what's the intention behind it? And so even in thinking about our name as a production company / creative agency, it had a lot of intention with it. And going back to some of those examples and where Siera and I connected a lot in creating images and creating art is, before we did it, what's the intention? Sometimes the intention is to have fun and celebrate Indigenous joy. Cool, let's do it. Other times it's like, oh, we're gonna educate a little bit. We're gonna talk about some things that may cover trauma, but also how are we going to heal through that trauma? And so one of the beautiful parts of the partnership with NWI is being part as facilitators or co-facilitators throughout the years. It's been now about 4 years as well, or 5 almost.
I think it's gonna be 5 years.
Yeah, like Siera and I, when we first were introduced to NWI, we're going through our own healing journeys. And one of the first ones that Siera threw me into workshops was with Gene Tagabon. And you got to check out his power hours, which are listed on YouTube, and they should be here on Facebook as well. And that's healing with storytelling. And when we started to share more about ourselves and what we were doing, it was people like Jillian Joseph and Shailene and others within the group that said, hey, this is a really beautiful gift and a beautiful expression, and they encouraged it for us. And so right now, this opportunity is to encourage you to heal through visual medicine. And with that being said, I'd like you to, in the comments, I see people shouting out from New York, from Cali, from all these different places. Um, if you don't mind, in the comments, can you share and describe briefly, if you feel comfortable, let's say a photo that you feel brings healing to you when you see it? If you don't mind sharing that for the next couple of seconds. Maybe Siera, can you share one? And maybe we won't show it, but if you can describe, is there certain visuals that stick out to you in your life that bring healing to you?
Yeah. For me, certain visuals that bring healing would have to be my family. Of photos of our baby smiling. They make me so happy. She could be asleep right next to me, and I'll go through looking at photos of her and still like, oh, just being like so amazed. And so another one would have to be being in our traditional homelands. That brings a lot of healing and warm thoughts to me.
Thank you. There's a lot of there's a lot of emotion and memory, and there's a certain level of poetry, I feel, in photos. And it could be sleeping, it could be daily things that bring such beautiful feelings. They fire off the neurons, as our brother Dash would say. I want to go ahead and point out one of the comments here. Healing with storytelling isn't new, it's always been there. It goes to, what's our favorite word, time immemorial. Absolutely, our ancestors, through song, through basket work, through all different types of crafts, through all of the elements that create the culture, that is very much part of healing through stories and storytelling. So total acknowledgement there, and that reinforces the fact that we all are capable of healing ourselves, and we're capable of healing through storytelling. And it doesn't mean that we have to have large followings, or that we are at certain art shows or certain markers of success that dominant culture wants to tell us. There's a beauty that can come from creating something for a loved one, that goes beyond any type of those type of accolades, from a larger audience. Like, I'll say right now, Shailene, when Hasea was born, Shailene Joseph, she sent us one of the first gifts to celebrate the birth of our baby, and she did her first beadwork project, and it was this beautiful sunrise with a sunflower. And for our Ashui people, the sunflowers grew where our Holy One's tears landed on Mother Earth. So the significance of that and the joy it brings in a smaller piece, that is visual medicine. That is right there an example, one of the examples I wanted to share of how it also doesn't have to be a photo. It doesn't have to be a film. It could be something that you draw on a tablet. It could be something you sketch out on the back of a bill. My dad would draw on the back of like phone bills and like different bills. He'll leave notes, and my mom would do the same. So the process of healing through visual medicine consists of intention, and what we find a lot is when we're co-creating, especially, are we respecting boundaries? Are there healthy boundaries? Are we creating a safe space, which consists of creating those, knowing those boundaries? And are we following protocol? And even with our own families, there's some assumptions that we can make that are sometimes could be problematic, right? We need to be able to create an opportunity to have a dialogue. And maybe there's a family member that we'd love to create a portrait with, but they're not usually open to it. But we know how much it could mean for, let's say, a little granddaughter or grandchild to see that later? How do we have that conversation? And how do we respect their own agency to be like, you know what, maybe not a photo of my face, but maybe it could be my hands. Or what if I create a photo of you? And then let's say the elder then has the camera in the hand and they create a photo of you. Art is a conversation. These visuals are a conversation. And so we still have a memory of this person, something to remind us of that moment. Love, what are some in our years? It could be between you and I, or before. What are some moments of creating an image in particular that you remember that kind of sticks out in your mind?
I would have to say right now what's sticking out the most is when you talked about, basket making, or the types of our indigenous crafts that not only have like our cultural significance, but they also are able to bring, when I bead or when I quill, that's my own form of self-care. And so there was a time when Tomás and I lived back in Chicago, and I was quilling a lot, and he was very supportive. And from the beginning, our relationship has been really good of us supporting each other in our hobbies and what we wish to say or communicate. And so I remember a time where he had taken some photos of me holding my quill work, or me holding some quills. And for me to be able to keep those memories for the future of when I'm older, or when I'm able to tell Hesea of the times we lived in Chicago in the winter, and what helped get me, through the winter. It's cold a lot of times, or, we do a lot of our crafts when we're unable to go outside. And so, yeah, that's a big one for me.
That is so beautiful to hear, Love. I remember that time. I knew that what you were doing was helping you, through those hard times. I knew that it was something productive. I didn't know what was going to come of it, whether it was going to be something that you let go, which is an exercise that NWI teaches us to let go of something. And sometimes there's offerings and things like that. I just knew that in that moment, that's what you needed. And I respected that space. And you've done that for me too. And that's to all our relatives out there. We might find a youth, we might find an elder, or anybody in between that might be going through a challenging time. And through these expressions are finding that comfort, are finding the healing. And we know as Indigenous people that we don't have exactly linear or straight line concepts of time. Some of our ceremonies go on hours, some of them go on hours but feel like seconds. And it's a respect for creation. It's a respect for all these different ways that we are blessed to express, and allowing our relatives to go ahead and have that communication, that connection with whatever they're doing. Maybe it's mourning or grieving from someone that has passed. And we know that through this pandemic, a lot of us have experienced different levels of loss or struggle. But a lot of our friends, a lot of our peers, including a lot of the board here at NWI, have created so many beautiful works of love, have created visual medicine for their families, for loved ones, and it's gone a long way. A photo that sticks out to me is early on in the pandemic. Hesea was born on April 17th. Birthday's coming up. What's up? 2020, like peak, beginning of some of the highest caseloads at the time with the pandemic. And my mom and dad came to visit, and they came to the front. They came to the front of the house, and they were outside. They couldn't come inside. I created this little hut thing, like makeshift, so that the sun would block it. Because if you're from Phoenix, out in the desert, you know how that cooks you. just cooks your neck. If you got a little like skin tag, it's gonna zap it.
Oh my gosh.
So they came to the window and they wanted to see Hosea, but they couldn't hold her right away. How many of us have experienced that, and how did that feel? But in that photo, Siera's holding Hosea, and my parents are peering in with so much love that goes beyond that separation of the glass or the brick, that went beyond this big wall that we felt of grief because of this virus. And one thing that I often say, and I don't know, I've expressed it this way, but I truly feel that that love travels faster than the speed of light. And I love, I'm a guy that was raised in different ways of knowing, or indigenous ways of knowing, and science background, but I just have a feeling. And so when I think of that and how much light communicates, or the play between light and shadow, and the memory that it creates, and how it goes beyond and creates this connection, that's going to be a photo that we look at for a very long time. And it's a reminder of, maybe there's the traumas, but the traumas that we survived, the idea, the beauty, the messages that we survived, and that we pivoted, that we made changes, that we respected each other, that grandparents were there. We made it work. You know, as Indigenous people, we're really good at making it work. Right now we got a comment. It says, watching now from in my room, full of things all I have relation to are meaningful and uplifting photos and feathers. Oh man, I love seeing when we do Zooms and you see the different, there's like photo walls in the back with like the tourney trophies and photos, and like it's just a beautiful thing to see. We're just clicking on some of these comments here. Pictures on our walls in our home, affirmations, and special place for our medicines. Absolutely, that brings a lot to a home. Seeing some of our plants, just the shape of them, or it reminds us of a certain place that we were at. You want to read a couple more of these comments? Let me see. Lisa Freiberg, my visual healing is the water. Oh, can you want to talk about working with Kalina?
Oh yeah. So on one of our projects, we were able to go up to Suquamish and Washington, and it's right across from Seattle. And we're very blessed to have been able to work with Kalina Lawrence up there, and she did a whole song in her own language. And this was the summer of 2019. And being able to collaborate with your friends, with our young friends during this time, during that time, was really exciting. Being able to travel and having those opportunities. We woke up before the sun, and when we got there, she had all of the youth there, and they all pulled out their canoes, and we were going to document her singing this song. And it's a call and response song, and so she's calling to her community and they're responding back to her. And that, to be able to see that, and to be able to see our young people continuing to make songs, to continue to make healing for their community, is what we need during these hard times. And to be able to amplify that, to be able to capture that for her, is something very important to us as we're going through our own healing journeys and our own traumas. A lot of our communities are still traumatized on a daily basis. Our Native communities, our relatives who are Black and brown that live on Turtle Island. And I think it was really important to continue to work with our tribes from the north, and I loved being up there. During the time of us getting to the water, we saw the most amazing sunrise, and it was like the brightest pink sunrise I'd ever seen. And the sun came up, and there was all of this what is it called, fog on the water, and it felt really good to be here. And I think we can
I hear
probably
something.
share a link. What?
So I think I hear, is that me moving? I thought I hear baby. My dad mode is on. Like hardcore. I'm like, is that baby? But we would hear her crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
Well, Julianne's here.
Oh, I didn't know that. My fault. My
She's been
fault.
here since
Okay,
like 1.
my bad. We're having some help with the baby, so we're really grateful for that. Shout out to help. We wanted to bring that up, the connection to water. So in creating visual medicine, in this particular project, it was a collaboration, a healthy collaboration, right? And we like talking about collaborations in this way. And NWI gives us so much,
Check on us.
so many tools to create what's called healthy collaborations. And we know that when we're creating an image or creating a project or we're planning a project, treating each other with respect, but also having a trauma-informed lens is really important. So when we're thinking of, let's say we're conceptualizing something or we're in the moment, thinking through that trauma-informed lens that takes into account the other person's traumas, our own traumas, and how those affect us is really important, because it builds compassion, it builds empathy, and it can save us from potentially causing harm, and that's really important. There's a certain responsibility that comes with creating visual medicine. We know that medicines can be over harvested. We know that medicines can be used in ways that are not appropriate from protocol standpoint, and there could be abuses. And so being taught in this way of knowing of balance, we need to be mindful of that at all times. And right now, Siera's, checking on baby Hesea. She woke up from her nap, but we're currently learning from Hesea as a little baby. We know through our indigenous ways that little babies are closer to Creator, right? To our Holy One. So we're constantly learning about how she perceives the world, what she's learning from the world. I did want to say shout out to Australia, shout out to all our homies out there, shout out to Aotearoa, to our Maori relatives, the Pacific as well, Kanaka Maoli. Right here, one of the comments says, music saved my life through everything. That's, wow. That's a powerful statement. For us, working with Kalina was huge, because her intention with her and one of her community members was to help preserve this language of the shoot seed. Through that process of us working with her and seeing her vision and co-collaborating, we learned part of the song, us Hechalup, us Walach. Like, I'm not saying it maybe perhaps to and my respect to our shoot seed speakers, but the power of me and Siera and the others that were around us learning some of those words, and as some of our brothers and sisters describe it, that the trees and the land have a memory, that they remember the vibrations in which we have been speaking, to all of creation, to our plant relatives, our animal relatives, to all our relations in all directions. When we have and we utter those words, those vibrations mean a lot. They bring healing to our spaces. They bring healing to our lives. And so us coming into that project with Kalina, and again, we'll have to share that link at some point, maybe after this live, that brought us to a very healing moment with her and getting to know her, and also getting to be a guest and a relative up in the Pacific Northwest. So as you try different ways of, and it might be a healthy risk, as we say within the Native Wellness Institute, to try a new expression of visual medicine. Maybe you haven't tried drawing or painting and you'd like to, even if it's just for yourself, even if it's just to do it and let it go, either bury it or toss it respectfully, or even some people burn it. There's, through that process of creating that visual medicine, of putting it to paper or putting it to, something right in front of you, is a powerful thing. Let me go through a couple more of these comments. There's a lot of people that mention wall art and different items that their family members make. Let's see, there's a comment from Cielo. I hope I'm saying that correctly. There's a sharp, let me see. She says, imagine families that live in homes with dirty floors and holes in the walls, etc. This is very common, yet there lies a sharper sense of resilience, which can sometimes be lacking in children who grew up in a home that provides everything for them. I think when we look at that trauma-informed lens and we think of certain environments in which we are either born to or come upon in life, there are always going to be opportunities for healing, and certainly it's important as a community to have compassion and to come from a place of abundance. Our sister Shailene talks a lot about this. She even has devoted a lot of her life's work to talking about abundance. And so when we visit places that have been maybe either perceived or stigmatized to be lacking of abundance, when we use these tools of healing, it starts to really show how incredible each of us, how incredible the opportunity is for us to heal. And I take a pause there because I think of some of my family members who have really struggled through different types of traumas. And I never try to think that I fully understand, even if I've been through similar traumas. Every healing journey is completely on its own. We might be in different groups and we can relate on certain levels, but I want to respect everybody's healing journey and understand and reinforce the idea that healing is a journey and not a destination. We say that a lot, probably in 90% of these power hours, but I respect our aunties and uncles that are struggling, our cousins that are struggling, our moms and dads, our young ones, our youth. I respect and appreciate the efforts to move towards a place of healing, to find those tools, to ask for help. As more of us do this and collectively move towards healing in these conversations, the more opportunities there's going to be for us to celebrate this abundance. And again, this particular conversation is about creating visual medicine and how Siera and I have been able to do that and connect with community. Let's see more in the comments. Let's give a couple of examples of what a process could look like when creating, let's say, a portrait. And maybe we are thinking of using a phone. It could be our own phone. It could be a borrowed phone, that has a camera attached to it. It could be film. A lot of people are using film cameras again. Maybe you dusted one off. Maybe someone gifted it to you. Maybe you purchased one at a thrift store. Maybe this is a video component. I want to talk about a couple of approaches that really help create images that promote healing, that encourage healing. And it has to do with how we relate and how we perceive the world, how we approach. So that intention part is huge. Some of the projects we've been a part of off camera, often we'll start with the prayer. We might smudge But again, we make it very clear to, especially if there's any non-native collaborators, that there's things that are not meant to be filmed, that we have to be cognizant of the things that we're doing in front of these tools, in front of the cameras, and be respectful and try to be as holistic as possible when creating these images. But it helps when we're creating the visual medicine to set that intention and to pray about it. And I've done that often, even on my drive to a location. I'll say, you know, I'll pray to my ancestors, and I'll pray to the ancestors that are in the lands which I'm traveling through, and I ask and I introduce myself and ask for blessings or guidance, or to know when there's certain boundaries that I am going to be able to create that safe space for me and for those involved. And that part of it is just so critical in making sure that the energy that we create and leave a memory of in communities is one that's positive, and one that leaves more than it takes. We have abundance, each and every one of us, and we can share it with a certain number of people, a certain number of communities. And it's okay to be like, you know, I'm also at a point where I feel like I can't give at this moment, and I need to have some help. And that's where Siera and I go back and forth, and we talk about that. Like, if we're approaching a project or going to visit a relative, and we're going to create a portrait, and maybe we had something happen to us in that day, I want to acknowledge the fact that in that moment, maybe it's not appropriate for me to be in that space. And that's where Siera could step in and help out and make sure that we do things in a good way. Some of these suggestions are a little bit wide, right, in the explanation, but this is also it's a power hour. It's 1 hour, and we just want to put some tools out there that help create these opportunities for healing, and will help in the process of creating visual medicine. I'm going to read some of these comments. Books and prayers have helped me heal. I was guided back to ceremony through my 4-year-old son who had a chronic illness. That's powerful. We will see a lot of times that the prayers that we say or hear, or the visuals that reading creates. I'm a very visual person, like all the way around. It really comes down to something that I repeat often, but I really liked from one of my mentors. And I've said it in multiple instances, but her name is Ileana, and she explained that when we are, let's say, creating a larger work, like a book, that's like taking care of a garden, taking care of each of the plant relatives, and knowing what the needs are. And then when we create poetry, it's like taking that garden and putting it into a single seed. And that became a big visual as well. The process of how something could be so packed with meaning, with life, and with abundance, but still fit in a seed. It's just such a beautiful way of knowing, and I really appreciated that teaching. So when we think of images in each frame, within one frame of video, there are 20, within 1 second, within 1 second of video at 24 frames per second, there are 24 frames. Each opportunity, each frame can be a poem, can be a seed, each and every frame. When we think of creating a project. Maybe it's there was a couple of community art projects this last year, and some of them called for art submissions. If you're doing a video, or if you're creating a painting or creating a photo, how much intention are you putting behind every single frame? The way that somebody stitches one bead at a time on a larger piece. And if each bead and if each frame is done in such a intentional, beautiful way, and we look at ourselves and are honest with ourselves of where we are in our healing journey, and we then zoom out and look at the work that we've done, how powerful then does that piece become? And as we weave all our stories together, all the things that inspire us, all the things that bring us joy, all those blessings, maybe those moccasins that are one of the grandmas made in in our living room. It could be a fan that someone put together, fixed for us. It could be a photo that was just from the cell phone, but that's the only photo you have of that cousin, and how much that means to you, and how much care was done in creating in expressing love for that moment. These are all opportunities to add visual medicine into our lives. Here we have some more comments that our tribal songs have really helped me. Michelle says, I have so much family loss on my Navajo side due to COVID. I really want to be on our tribal canoe. I miss the water, good medicine. All that, thank you for sharing that. Again, prayers to all our relatives who are going through the heartache right now with this pandemic. It is through these different types of medicines that we can find healing and find comfort. And I pray for you, Michelle, that you find that comfort through different types of medicine, hopefully through this conversation. And I just send blessings and good energy to your family. And to me, getting to know the Navajo culture through Siera and her family has been a big blessing. And this exchange of ceremony, of ideas and indigenous lifeways is something that's a continuous process. And I want to take this moment to acknowledge everybody that's been in the comments and that has tuned in to this power hour for the space that you're creating right now. And for those of you who have left comments and are thinking about leaving comments, I really appreciate you. Siera is back. She had checked on her baby. What's the status? How's her little girl?
She's good. She's sleeping.
Yeah, we're here. We've got about 12 minutes left together. We're going to play that video that we played at the beginning again at right before we close, just because me being me at the time, I was muting it by accident. But we just went ahead and gave some other examples right now of how we can create visual medicine, and what are some good practices when we're creating these visuals. And is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah. Let me see. I just want to read through some of these really quick. I mean, when we're, with all of us,
Neptune.
yeah, of
Thank
course.
you. I'm a little
With
parched
all
over
of
here. A little parched.
talking about healing and what we do to what we do on a daily basis that brings us happiness is something that we really encourage you to continue to do. And with that being said, I want to send you all love, and I want to encourage you to write 3 things, 3 positive affirmations about yourself. And if you could leave it in the comment section, that would be awesome. So,
Ooh, can I add to that?
yeah.
So if you can, please put those 3 positive affirmations about yourself things that you love about yourself. And then within these next couple of days or week, think of how you can take one of those positive affirmations and express it through visual medicine.
Good idea.
How about that? Also, it's a perfect time for questions.
Okay, yeah. Wait, before questions.
Before
What
questions.
are 3 positive affirmations you have for yourself?
For me, I had somebody say this before, and I guess I realized it again on this Zoom. I was raised in a household with like good kind of sense of humor. So I like that if I run into like a technical difficulty or something's going on, I can hopefully make light of it in a respectful way. Like it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's gonna be all right. And you guys understand where I'm coming from in my intentions. So I want to just acknowledge that in myself and feel more. I want to encourage more confidence in like things being okay, like not trying to be a perfectionist. Then second one, I love being your partner, and I'm happy that we have the tools and that we make efforts. And I know I'm making this about us, but I am personally happy that I've stuck to what my heart feels to have these influences in my life and to be a spiritual person. And I am happy and proud of being a dad. I love it. I love being a dachu to Hesea. I'm learning a lot about fatherhood, learning a lot about Indigenous fatherhood, but I love being a dad that's happy to like play and use imagination, make our girl laugh. I made her laugh for the first time for all our Dene and some other tribal nations. It's very important. I had to do a ceremony. I had to cook.
Okay,
How about you?
three positive affirmations about myself. I'm an amazing mom, and it's been really hard during this pandemic, but our girl, nothing but smiles. And number 2, I have been working on my health this year. And so eating good, treating my body good is positive affirmation.
Love it.
And third one would have to be another positive affirmation. It's so hard. Like when I feel like I could say a million things about Tomás or like other people, my friends, like, oh, you're this and you're that. But when you have to like say something about yourself, it really makes you think of like how much time, we think about these ourselves.
About ourselves.
Exactly.
It's a good thing to put into practice and to put into our muscle memory to say these things about ourselves.
Oh, I am creative.
You are.
I am creative, and in this year I hope to create more. Yep. But thank you guys for writing down 3 positive affirmations about yourself. I feel like even through this, like this is, visual medicine. This is Facebook Live visual medicine. Having videos where we can talk and discuss mental health is so important, especially in these hard times. And I encourage you to continue to watch our power hours, our different videos that the Native Wellness Institute will put out. Love working with them because the intention is always to help and uplift our communities. With that being said, Tomás and we have talked about medicines, we have talked about photos, and we've talked about our Indigenous crafts. But living in this world where there's, different types of multimedia ways of expression, one that we're wanting to work more towards is film. And so there's been some amazing directors that we've seen within this past year and throughout the pandemic that are being recognized. And we just want to shout out our people that are making big moves with Reservation Dogs and also Rutherford Falls, and continuing to, encourage our colleagues in that way. And so if you haven't seen those episodes or those series, you definitely got to check it out. And if you were, we talked a lot about I feel like in our early days in relationships and us talking about storytelling and the broader picture of us living here in the United States during this time. A lot of times, time and time again, it always comes down to like representation. Where is the representation at? And I'm so happy that our Indigenous people were able to have those seats of calling the shots. And with that, them calling the shots and being in those head roles, we were able to see representation that makes us feel good, that we understand, the humor that we understand. And so, encourage your filmmakers that are around you. If you have nieces or nephews or, grandchildren who identify as them, if you see them carrying a camera, if you see them writing, if you see them taking photos or painting, really encourage them and give them those affirmations that we had just given ourselves, because that one affirmation could lead to a multitude of positive experiences in their lives. I know that well, Tomás, you had this experience where somebody gave you a really positive affirmation when you were in middle school. And that was of, if you want to tell that story really quick.
Oh, I mean, and just to point out, through our work with NWI, one specific time, I mean, there's so many vivid memories, but when we work with the Native Youth Wellness Warrior Camp, there's just so much abundance and talent and storytelling that we're so excited for. And we're definitely going to be very intentional about creating those spaces as well, continuing to be. It has a profound effect. Like one comment can change the whole course of somebody expressing themselves in this way. And it doesn't have to necessarily become a career choice, but it could become yet another tool for them to keep them safe throughout their life, to keep him, her, or they, safe throughout their life. For me, when my grandmother passed, I was about, I was about to turn 7, and I was very close to her. She's my maternal grandmother. And I wrote a poem about her passing, and I said, when she passed, because I knew she had passed in her sleep because of a heart problem, the doctors had said that she passed peacefully. And I said, well, it feels like the feeling of her transition was like the graceful descent of an eagle feather. That's what it felt like. So it was a grieving, but I was at peace and I felt okay. Like my grandma had, went to that other place, but I felt okay. And when I wrote that, some of my teachers and some of my family members really encouraged that expression, and I appreciated that. And that's why what Siera is saying is really important. It's not about achieving a certain what is it called? It's not about perfection. It's about feeling that healing that comes with it, the positive affirmations, the confidence, the relief that comes through this process of creating visual medicine. And again, it's just one type of medicine. I wanted just to acknowledge everybody that put in the comments. We're at 2:00. But right now, even the comment section, as if we were to screenshot it as we look at it, that's visual medicine, and that this is a snapshot of community saying loving things. You're saying loving things about yourself in a public space, and we're changing the norm. This is beautiful. And to Siera's point, and shout out to all our matriarchs and um, um, we know that there's a lot of space that has been taken up by a lot of men. And I just want to say there's so many incredible matriarchs. Taz Barros Chavez is one of them. Showrunners like Siera Ornelas. We got Alexis Salih from Anchorage. We have, and I want to see this film from Shandine Tome, sitting right next to me, my wife. Our matriarchs and everyone on that's either non-binary or in the whole range of fluidity of gender expression. We need more spaces. We need to see the medicine from you. It makes a difference. And so Siera and I, in our commitment, are big about that as well. And so for all of you, like, we're excited to see your stories, to see how you express, and we just love you. Any other words, love?
No, so sweet. Love you guys. Thank you for joining our power hour and going through listening to us this whole entire time.
Thank you.
Have a good day.